Hi friends, this is your pal Scott Garibay, and today I want to have a robust conversation about Chris Stuckmann's brand new horror film, um, Shelby Oaks. All right, this is going to be packed with spoilers, okay? All right, here we go. Wow, this movie utterly rocked. It was really, really good. I have never seen Rosemary's Baby, right? I watched the Fish Jelly guys review this. Let me give you the story real quick. Okay. So Shelby Oaks. All right. Um, there's two sisters. One of the sisters can see things at night in their window. She says a man is standing in the window and looking at her, but she sleeps on the second floor, right? So that can't be right, because he'd have to be 18 feet tall, right? And so they're like, I don't know, So basically, the younger sister is like, hey, and from the time she's like in kindergarten all the way up until she's 12 years old, she's really terrified by these visions she has of this man at the window in the night, right? So then when she becomes 12 years old, it stops and she's no longer plagued by this. She grows up to be 18 years old, and when she becomes 18, she joins the paranormal paranoids, and she joins a Scooby gang, like literally two guys and two girls. They don't have a dog, and they go off and and this is in the YouTube era, which is interesting because Chris Stuckmann is a YouTuber. They go off in the YouTube era and they build their paranormal paranoids channel. And then they start getting some real a pretty big following. And then they go to Shelby Oaks, okay? And they go to Shelby Oaks and they go to this prison, and then they go into the woods and they find this house in the woods. And when they find this house in the woods, all of them go missing, okay? And so they all go missing, and then immediately people start investigating their disappearance, right? Well, they find the house where they were at, and they find 3 bodies there, and both of the guys are murdered, brutally murdered, like just hacked to pieces. And it's not even clear like how they were killed, but they're brutally murdered. And it's clearly not it does appear to be like a vicious serial killer. And then, but Riley Brennan, and that's the younger sister, she is, oh yeah, so Riley Brennan, the younger sister, she goes missing. They never find her body, right? So the paranormal paranoids were murdered, except for Riley, who appears to have been kidnapped, and they've never found her. They don't know if she's alive or dead, but they don't have any corpse, so she's assumed by her sister to be alive and missing, and her sister is dedicated to finding her. So her sister then begins investigating her, right? Investigating her disappearance. Okay? And she returns to Shelby Oaks, right? And she goes with a crew who now 12 years after the disappearance of Riley Brennan are after the disappearance of Riley Brennan, she has a crew following her, right? While she's being recorded by these people who, were capturing her attempt to find her sister, this guy comes to the door and says, she finally released me, right? And then he shoots himself in the head. And in his hands, he has a tape called a videotape, Shelby Oaks, a small one of the ones you insert into a bigger one. And by the way, every single horror movie now is like, if anything's ever recorded, it's always now on a tiny cassette recorder that slides into a VHS. I don't know why. I just think they think that's inherently creepy, and it is. I don't know why it's inherently creepy, but boy is it. So yeah, so that's that's where we're at. So basically, she watches this Shelby Oaks tape, and she finds out that Shelby, that basically she actually sees that Shelby was taken away by a man at the place of the murder. So she then goes into the forest, into Shelby Oaks, and finds this house in the middle of the forest, right? And you're like, whoa, that's kind of weird. But it also doesn't make sense because a ton of people have been looking for Riley Brennan. So why did she just find this house, right? Because this place has been combed over, right? So then she goes into the house and she meets this super old woman, right? Well, here's the shtick. Here's like the actual, here's the oeuvre of the whole thing. There was a prisoner in the prison that Riley Brennan actually went and investigated. That prisoner was the son of this old woman in the house at the end of the movie. Okay, her son was taken over by an incubus demon called Tyrion, right? And he possessed this woman's young son, got him out of the prison, and then actually, I think he went into the prison because he murdered those kids. It's weird. Anyway, so he actually went. So he was possessed by the incubus demon. The incubus demon caused him to kill the 3 members of the Scooby Gang, and then take captive Riley Brennan. Riley Brennan is in this house that her sister has just found in the basement, and she's pregnant. And for the last 12 years, she's had 6 children. Okay, 5 died, and finally actually Riley Brennan's sister finds her and then attempts to escape the house, but they're not able to escape the house. They end up going into the attic of the house, where the old woman completes the ritual and essentially does like a cursed, like essentially ultimately curses the baby that Riley just had that actually lived. Okay, so now and then the old woman dies. Okay, so then Riley Brennan, her sister, and the baby all escape from the house and return to their home, right? And then tell the world, hey, Riley Brennan's been found. This is what happened to her, and she's pregnant, right? Like, well, actually, she was pregnant. Here's the child she had, and here's all these terrible things that happened to her. And then the whole world is like, okay, Riley Brennan, you just live with your sister now, and the 2 of you can take care of that baby, right? And so, like 3 days after she's been found, her sister is caring for Riley, who is in terrible condition because she's been, abused for 12 years. And so her sister is taking care of Riley and taking care of the baby. But since the Riley is the mother, they're in the same room. So her older sister comes and finds that finds the baby, finds Riley about to kill the baby, right? And she's in her old room, her parents' home, right? So the older sister is like, hey, you can't kill that baby. I know, you just have postpartum. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. And then she rushes over to save the baby. Well, they get into a fight, and then and the older sister literally pushes her out of the window, and she falls the 2 stories, which does not kill her. But then these hellhounds run over, which are just dogs from the neighborhood that are also possessed, and tear her apart. So they kill Riley, and then the older sister has this baby. Now, I did not to forget, but I didn't tell you this earlier. I could have told you this earlier. But her sister had wanted to have children and had worked with her, I think he was a boyfriend. I don't think they were married, but they were trying to have kids and they couldn't. And so now Riley's older sister has this demon child who looks perfectly healthy. He doesn't look demonish. It did look like his eyes were completely black. But that could have just been a trick of the light. And so then the incubus Tyrion actually puts his hand on the older sister's shoulder, and he realizes that Tyrion orchestrated all of this. He got that old witch woman to get her son, to the point where he could be possessed. He possessed the son, killed 3 of the Scooby Gang, abducted Riley Brennan impregnated Riley Brennan 6 times until it finally stuck. And then had the mother killed because I watched another review and they were like, every time a woman has the devil's baby, the mother always wants to kill the baby because they know what it is, right? And so then he positioned the older sister to want to have a baby of her own. And then at the very end of the movie, it's literally the older sister screaming as she realizes she's now possessed by Tyrion, and her possession will just be literally raising this demon child, who will probably grow up to be maybe the Antichrist, maybe a serial killer, certainly nothing good, right? And all of it is visually stunning. It's tight as a drum. It's told very, very quickly. It has much of the best elements of Blair Witch. It doesn't have any of the foolishness of any of the Final Destinies or like Freddy Krueger, or like, it doesn't have that over the top nonsense that you get in a lot of films. And it also, and here's another one, it's biblically accurate horror, extremely well executed. This was written tight as a drum by Stuckmann, and directed extremely well. Every single word you just heard in this video is my humble opinion. Nothing more, nothing less. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion. When you get in the comments and send your traffic, please consider liking and subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.